Good evening. Today is June 26, 2016. Most of you, this isn't a significant day, but for me, there are some important things that occurred around this time 1 year ago. In fact, 1 year and 1 day ago, I read an article about Gone with the Wind. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of this movie, although as a person who enjoys movies and appreciates the cinema, it was a cinematic masterpiece. But I read an article a year and 1 day ago that wasn't exactly favorable about the movie. It was sparked as a result of a massive debate that occurred across our country in response to the events 8 days earlier, June 17th, 2015. One demonstrable human being decided to walk into a church and kill people. Yes, it was a black church, and yes, he was a white man. And there was a video of him showing the Confederate flag and preaching that he believed the Civil War was won by the wrong side. These are all horrible, evil facts. No rational human being would say he was right in what he said or right in what he did. That being said, his action sparked immense debate and contention across our country. Oliver flag. Now, I understand why you persecute the flag specifically. You show it as the symbol of slavery, because it was the symbol that was flown by the Confederate soldiers. Well, the Dixie flag wasn't the symbol of slavery, it was the symbol of the Confederate Army. Not all who fought the Confederate Army owned or even believed in slavery. Much like not everyone in the Union Army believed that people should be free. There was conscription. People were forced into the war. You can see some examples of this in a recent movie that came out, Free State of Jones. And these are true facts. Not everyone agreed with the sides they were on. Hell, the most famous Confederate general was General Robert E. Lee. I bet you didn't know he actually didn't support slavery. He fought for the South because he was protecting his home. He was a brilliant general, and in the end he surrendered because he knew he was beat, and he knew those who he was fighting for lost. They had no moral grounds by which to stand, and they couldn't support their military because, quite frankly, they lacked what they needed. The best manufacturing for weapons was in the North. The South never stood a chance, but they fought anyways. And the poor soldiers who died knew they were going to die in the end. And it's a sad fact that any American had to lose their life in such a senseless battle. A battle that should have just been debated in Congress, lost, and moved on. We have these same battles now over different issues. Thankfully now we don't shed blood, well, most of the time not as much, over these senseless issues. Moving away from a very contentious issue, however, Gone with the Wind was noted in the article I read that it should go the way of the Confederate flag. That a movie that depicts those events should be tossed aside, no longer sold, no longer shown, and deleted from our history. Quite frankly, I think this is a crime of culture to even propose such a thing. This movie wasn't glorifying the events. It was shining a light on it. It's a work of cinema. It's an art. And to propose that it should be deleted just because you don't like part of the content, well, quite frankly, I can think of several other movies that fall just in the same realm. I'm not going to name them because, quite frankly, I don't want any movie to be deleted. Even movies I hate, I don't want erased because it was made for a purpose. These movies are made to show a part of our society, to show a part of our history, our reality. Now, some are made purely as works of fiction, but there is deeper meaning behind them. Gone with the Wind is no exception. It was a work of fiction based in a real period of time in our history, in our country's history, meant to show us the lives of people who lived during that time. Now, some of it was fanciful, glamorized, but it was meant to show us people. Show us examples of what they were like, what they believed, what they fought over, what their conflicts were. And I think devaluing this in any way to say that it needs to be deleted, it's horrible. I mean, this is a work of art you're talking about. Would the Mona Lisa all of a sudden be wiped clean? Great pieces of artwork, frescoes painted on cathedrals. If we were to replace religion and remove it from history, I don't think we'd remove the artwork that's put in the churches. I think we'd celebrate the architecture and paintings and statues that were constructed in memorialization because they were great pieces of art. Because that's what they are. They're meant to be celebrated, not destroyed, no matter what the context. No artwork, no culture should ever be lost. Even if it's demonstrable, it should still be appreciated in its own form. Because this artwork is part of our history. It's part of who we are, who we were, and who we're traveling to be. That being said, I think the person who wrote this article was short-sighted, misguided, and ill-informed of what they were talking about. I'd like to think a rational human being wouldn't propose the deletion of a great piece of cinematic art, or any art for that matter. I by no means am a true scholar of the arts. I have an appreciation for them. The bulk of my appreciation, of course, is directed at the cinema. And some is directed video games, which I will admit I enjoy. Paintings, sculptures, books. These are all art. Even the comic books and graphic novels of today's youth, such as myself, are art, meant to tell a story, meant to convey emotion, convey ideas in a unique and different medium. Hell, YouTube is a great example of another form of art and information conveyance tools that we use in today's age. But we mustn't forget that it's important that these views, that these opinions be heard, no matter what form they take, and no matter whether or not you disagree or agree with them. By no means do I like Gone with the Wind. It was a movie my mom loved, thoroughly, in fact. She made me watch it a couple times when I was a kid. It's part of the reason why I'm not a big fan of the movie. Now, as someone who appreciates cinematics, artwork, yeah, I can recognize that it is a great piece of cinematic art. But I will never choose to enjoy the movie. There are many more that I'd rather watch. But that being said, I think those who enjoy it have every right to access of this movie for all of time. Because no act by some foolish individual should lead to the deletion of something that is pertinent to our culture, to our identity as a people. That being said, the events that happened over a year ago, and the recent events in Orlando, we really need to think about how we react to the events in our lives, and we need to think about how we choose to talk and interface about them. I mean, by no means do I condone the actions of Charleston or the Orlando shooters. I think they're demonstrable and vile, amoral human beings. And if they're right about heaven and hell, I hope they rot in the deepest pits of their respective hells. Because there's no place where such horrible acts should be celebrated. And yes, we do display them in many different ways. But in the end, all of us can agree, no one deserves to die for unjust reasons. And I think we should put just as much influence as no art or culture should die either. All in all, I felt I needed to speak on this issue a little bit. You can blame Facebook for that this point last year thing they do. Because had it not been for that last night, I wouldn't have even remembered that I posted this article and made my commentary about it. But all the same, I'm glad it popped up, and I'm glad I thought about it. I have more to say on the issue. I have more to say on a lot of issues. And if you like what I'm saying, or maybe just curious to hear what else I have to say, please like my video and subscribe below. I'll post more in the future, and have a good night.